Okay, we're kind of caught up to the last few years. I was trying to be this successful businesswoman and I was very public and I was building a big business. And, obviously this was hurting my marriage. So we had serious marital issues. We had them the entire time and it wasn't because of Taylor. It was an addition to things that were happening. So my marriage had been deteriorating for years because of other issues, business, work, being separate, and having so many things go on. I lost my father, my drinking had increased, and it was starting to increase at this time with the stress of work, the stress of her. I was holding it all in. I couldn't talk about it. I had people bashing me all over town about how bad I was a mom, but they didn't understand what was going on.
No one did.
No one knew. I wasn't exposing her. I wasn't talking about what we were going through because it was not for anyone else to know. It was me and her dad, and then obviously the closest people to us. But even some of the people close to us didn't understand the level this was getting to. We had been through so many battles already. We have this horrible thing happen, and I honestly just wanted to crawl in a hole. Like I didn't know what I was going to do. I'm like, should I even do my business anymore? Like, I feel like it's just ruining everything. And it was a blessing to us, but also it was really tough. And I remember I had a lot of bruises from the whatever happened, because a cast, it'll cause marks and stuff. I mean, it wasn't totally beat up, but there was a lot of marks on my body. So I remember I had to go speak at an event. And the one thing that I had a hard time with is I just remember wanting to cry at the entire event. And it was the biggest moment for me because I got to speak in front of like 30,000 people. It was huge, and I got to share. And I just remember being like, I can't even enjoy this because my relationship with my daughter is completely zero. Like, I don't even know how to fix this. I don't know if it'll ever get fixed. I don't know how to heal this.
Like, we didn't go to jail, but I felt like I was like, we felt like we were, like, that's how sad we were.
Well, it was horrible. So we basically, as much as I had already stepped out, I stepped completely out. And not all because I didn't want to deal with it, because I was always there. But I needed to let her.
I also blocked you.
Right. She just needed, there wasn't a time for me to jump in. I wasn't going to be welcome jumping in. I couldn't be a mom. So I had to completely step out. And for me, that's been one of the hardest things I've ever done. But I needed to do it.
That was a week after me moving back from Reamer. And Reamer, I didn't smoke, kiss a boy. I didn't have a phone. I was honorable mentioned. I got straight A's. I was the captain of the volleyball team, the softball team. I went off. I was great. But also, like, that whole year and 38 days, like, I was working my ass off.
Mom's out of your life a lot. I kind of go my way, deal with some of my stuff. I've dealt with some marital things. You weren't there for that. Kind of went on a journey of, healing. I had a really big transition with work, which put me in a very emotional, mental state that had really affected me. My drinking got really bad. Privately, most people didn't see me. I'm a very homebody. And so when I wasn't at work, you really didn't know what I was doing. Mm-hmm. But I was really, really sad. And I think Taylor had slowly come back in.
I was trying.
Yeah.
We were both trying.
But we need to talk about some things that were going on in your world. While this was going on in my world, I had been paying attention to what she was doing. I mean, I always had my eyes on her, but she got involved with some really rough people, and it was scary. And so this is where drugs come in, alcohol, you name it. This is where we go down that road, and severe weight loss. And, I'm watching my daughter. I'm watching from afar. She doesn't know her. Maybe she does, that I'm watching her. I had eyes on her everywhere, and I'd always get phone calls, or I would see photos, and I had her on Instagram. I think I still had you on Instagram. So I would see, but I knew something was wrong. And then people who were close to her, if they got some info, they would tell me. So I knew my daughter was in serious trouble, and she started to slowly reach out, and
as much as
she could, but there was some serious things happen. So we're not going to name names, and we're not going to go too deep, but drugs started to become a big player in your life. You know,
after I lost all my weight.
yeah.
So I used to play a lot of sports in high school, and like I was more like built. Like I had a lot of muscle on me, you know, like you could just tell I played sports. I was thicker, and that's, you know, it was fine. I was healthy. Um, I got into a relationship, and right off the bat, we were actually I took Molly for the first time, and everyone at the party was, you know, lights, music, and everyone, and I was just like, oh my gosh, I haven't done this since I was 15, like with the lights and stuff, not really with the Molly, but with the lights and like with the smoking weed and drinking and just the partying stage. We also, Molly, it's also a drug. It's like a love, like you love everyone, you know what I'm saying, you're very happy, you're feeling everything. And I got into a terrible abusive relationship that day, started dating off and yeah, I moved in with him right off the bat, and we were homeless for about 4 months. And I remember I almost got curb stomped by a sister because I had a bowl of her cereal. So that's how you know how hard it was. Also, I wasn't allowed to talk to anybody, my friends, anything. I was completely like not allowed. And a lot of people, you know, like I started smoking weed around 16, 17. Always been a weed smoker. I have my medical marijuana card now. So it's all legal. But yeah, a lot of people thought I was getting into like meth and really bad drugs because I went from a healthy, you know, had some weight on me, a lot of muscle on me, to being homeless for 4 months. And I'm saying eating something once a week, like going to the hospital all the time. I had no insurance, going to the hospital all the time. I'm not talking to my parents. You know, I'm getting hella medical bills sent to them because my body is truly like not good. It wasn't good. And I was so unhealthy, and it was because I was starving. And he ended up being really hard into drugs. There was I was pretty much broke at the time, and I remember I had $20, and his friend came in with some like K-pins, and he took my last 20 to buy it for him. And ever like after that started happening, I was just like, oh, like, okay, I need to make my own money, you know what I'm saying? Like he's doing all this stuff with his friends, and his brother is selling, and it's just chaos all over. Also, I thought he was a freshman in college. I was 18, he was a freshman in high school. Taller than me, looks older, just like I did.
They weren't from around here though.
Not from around here. They're from Chicago. And how they do things is just like not even, it's absolutely.
It's a different world. It was a
totally
different world. You walked into a world that you weren't ready for, and no one is.
No.
And it was as a parent. So as a parent, I could see what was happening without knowing all the details. And it was scary because I could see her. She was constantly going to the hospital. When she says she was constantly in the hospital, she was constantly in there.
Like
my mother was calling me, and I'm like, what is happening? Like, you know, what is happening? And there was times where I had to go down there a few times. There was times
I was dying of pleurisy.
She had pleurisy. She every time she would get sick all the time. She also is a vapor, or was. I don't know how you're doing on that. And that hurt. Yeah. Well, no, vaping
it's
hurts.
Hard. No, honestly,
so
it's so bad.
So she has wrecked her lungs.
Yeah, I've laid off a lot, but I was a goalie in soccer, and I remember the biggest game was Proctor Hermantown. I was like, this is the game. And I was like just dying, you know, before.
When did you start vaping? How old were you?
Oh, when those box mods came in, probably like 15.
Yeah, I mean,
literally, I think about it now, and I'm like, I've been vaping. Like, we've gone through the box mods, the little drops, the disposables now, and like, I've definitely like, I'm way better than I used to. Oh, the jewels, that was really killing me. But I remember I was literally laying in bed, like I couldn't breathe. I'm screaming at my grandmother
Yeah.
because I can't breathe. But also I'm telling her I'm going to my soccer game tonight. Like, I don't care what you say. That was a bad thing because there's been many times I've pushed my body to where it can't handle it. And I finally, like, it was bad. I was like, okay, like I need to go. Like, I couldn't breathe at all. I ended up having bronchitis, and it got really bad. And they said if I would have went to that soccer game, my heart would have like been, I don't know, I would have died because it was that bad where my heart would have like like blown up, and I would have, my lungs would have collapsed, and it was bad. I had pleurisy. I was in the hospital almost every single night in the ER. I had to have 4 things of morphine shot in my arms. I was I was so high I didn't even want to be alive at that point. It got that bad. So vaping is bad.
Yeah, don't vape.
Super bad. Like, I can barely breathe, even just like when I get worked up, I'm
She's
like,
only 20 and she's
Yeah.
destroyed her lungs. Everybody
Yeah.
listen to this because I don't want, I just,
no, for real.
it's
Like,
so bad.
It's so bad. And
So
yeah.
abusive relationship, very controlling, manipulative as well. So I didn't see her very much, but I could see what was going on. And that world of drugs, dealing drugs, whatever you want it, was taking over on a level where I was thinking she was going to get killed. I was thinking she was any of it. Like,
Well, everyone thought I did meth, by the way. Everyone was calling me a meth head.
Mm.
I lost all my weight from being homeless. And then, like, later on, when I was already 96 pounds, that's when, the selling and people, all those things were happening. But my hard thing was, like, I was going through it, and I had a lot of things that I couldn't, another situation I couldn't say, and I got myself into a stupid situation, and it went for a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was terrible month 1. I went through a year and a half of it. Multiple domestics, a kid getting trialed as an adult. I really regret this, but I never went every single trial and every single time. I ignored all the calls. I wouldn't go in because I was scared of what I was scared the whole time about. Some people's families work very differently. Some are okay and some are absolutely not. The mother tried hurting me, saying terrible things, wanting me to die. Got my car impounded, like, just steady, just my life being just ruined. I ended up getting an STD because he and all his friends slept with the same girl. Thank God they all did, because that's how I found out. But I came home. I worked every day. I was working at a hotel at the Days Inn, and me and him were staying with my grandma. Let me tell you, he was running up my grandmother's Wi-Fi bill, $600 every single month, so we could stream and just play video games all day. I worked a job and came home one day, and my grandma was home, and he's FaceTiming this girl, big boobs, nice, all that, everything I didn't have. I'm working every single day. I'm buying his underwear. I'm buying his food. I'm literally being his mother. Mm-hmm. And I come home and he's FaceTiming this girl butt ass naked in my grandmother's bathroom when I come home from work.
It didn't go good.
Yeah, I laugh now because I'm like, wow, did I go through it? But honestly, like I said, the worst things that have happened to me in my life is how I've learned to survive and who I am. And I think before I thought I was a terrible person. I hated myself, and
a lot of shame.
Yeah, and we all still have those days to this day. Mm-hmm. Like, I have self-love, and I did find that out. I figured that out at 20 years old. So last year, I'm about to turn 21. It took me 3 months of not leaving the house. I'm saying, like, grandma's house in my room.
So let's conclude this because the healing is the best part of our story.
Yeah, for real.
Okay, so there are parents listening, there are kids listening. You had a pretty tough go, some of it you, some of it not you, some people who hurt you.
Okay.
So we're going to talk about the healing because this is where it comes in. That's why it's important. Yeah, we don't have to go into too many more details of that because I don't want the one thing.
No, I was just going into how I was started healing
we will.
after it finally ended.
Yeah. So having an abusive relationship like that, there was a few pivotal moments in healing, and this is what's important for people. So you end this relationship that was toxic, and toxic is a nice way of saying it. Really? And so getting rid of, so I would say removing people and multiple people from your life was a big turning point because these people were from even when you were younger, you always had some really rough influences always in there. So even when you were trying to be better or when you were trying to have relationships with your parents or anyone, there was always someone pulling you kind of back into this world. And it was easy because you were used to it.
One thing I forgot to say is I have made my life very terrible because I've always been one to steady try to help people. And I steady try to, I don't know, like I'll get so deep into it, not even knowing that they're, destroying my life or taking everything from me or, you know what I'm saying? Just using me like my whole life. I've steady been one to like always get shit on, but I always kept trying. And I remember my dad would steady tell me like, stop forgiving these people. Like, they keep doing this to you because you're trying to forgive them and
cut them out of your life. Right.
And like, that is one thing, like it's a great quality I have a huge heart, but it hurt me so much, so much. And, yeah, it gets you into, bad situations, cause like there's been times where it's literally like they've ruined, I've had boyfriends where I stopped going to school cause I'm doing their homework, I'm terrible things. I mean, it all goes around with guys, but me just like trying to help people, like feel like I'm always, you need to learn to just like, even if you love those people, like there's people in your life you love, but you can't have in your life.
Yeah.
Also, you can't like, it's good to forgive people. It's good to move on and just not to, just to be civil, just like live a nice life, but having all of the constant, like, I don't know, just like one sec, cut that.
No, you're fine.
I don't know. I'm like not even knowing what to say.
No,
Like
I want, no, you're not. Just go to, we're coming into this year. A lot of things have shifted. I feel that when you had to serve some time, it was very hard.
I feel like we should go into that because.
Well, that's where we're going.
Okay.
You had to go to jail. You do not have to explain why so much.
I will.
Go ahead.
I went on a trip to Cali. And I had to meet my PO. He actually called me. He's like, hey, we hadn't seen each other in a long time because it was COVID. So he's like, hey, we're doing a surprise visit. Can you come meet me right now? I was like, no, I can't. I was in California. So I was like, I can meet tomorrow at 4. And then it ended up saying that I was like, I can meet you tomorrow at 6. Because what I was doing, I'm like, oh my God, I need a flight home. Like, I got to get to Minneapolis. I got to get to Duluth. So, it was all bad. It was fine for a while. And then I was just like actually freaking out because I'd never gone to jail. I knew it wasn't good, but I didn't know what it was like. I made it back to Minneapolis by, I think 2. And my friend was supposed to pick me up and just bring me to see my PO. And I would have been good. My friend decided to get hammered all day and left me at the airport alone for 6 hours. Finally Ubered. I don't know why I didn't Uber after like the first hour, but I finally Ubered to a friend of her friend. They happened to be together to her house. Yeah, I mean, basically right there, I was, I'm going to jail. Like, I know I'm going to jail.
So you went to jail.
Yeah.
I remember you talking to me a lot.
It was just hard. I always wanted to go to jail for like streaking or doing some
Mm.
stupid, something. But I was more mad because I was just like,
You could have prevented it.
I could have, but also you can't rely on people.
No, you have to take control and take accountability. So jail was really rough. It was scary. Jail is no joke. Like, it's not a joke. Doesn't matter if you're in county or where you are. It's not a joke.
Yeah, it was in my second or third day. I was about 7 seconds away from being shanked. The moment I stepped in the jail, they were laughing, like they're gonna eat you up, girl. And they did. The whole, don't talk to anyone, do your own thing. Yeah, well, I'm better than everyone because I'm not talking to anyone. There's no winning. There is no, like, I was the only one in there with teeth, and that's nothing like, but it's just like, I didn't belong there. And I actually had the sergeant of the jail tell me, you don't belong here. And I thankfully got to get moved to, it was like a safe house. So I could just do the rest of my time. I had 90 days. I only had to do 30 with good time. I was only in jail for 11 days. And then I got taken out and putting in a safe house for the rest of my time. Luckily, because, there's not many punishments I've had in my life where I'm like, you know what? That was totally unnecessary. A lot of them now I'd say, like, I needed that. The jail, like I said, they even said, like, you don't belong here. And I got taken out of that place. Did I belong there? No. But did it help me so much, like more than I've ever been helped just by a wall and nothing and just focusing and thinking. I wrote a 7-page book. I don't know if you can call 7 pages a book, but
It's like an ebook. You could do that.
Yeah. Best thing I've ever written on paper. Just the drawings, the things I figured out, everything.
I think sobering up to and not being around the toxic people, the toxic things.
Yeah.
What sobriety will do to somebody in a very quick time, and it does take time. Sobriety is a forever journey, but I think to watch you come out of that and have some self-awareness and taking the time to actually think about things, like you've never had the time to just sit and think, besides when you were in Reamer. Even that, though, you were surrounded by people, you always had to watch over your back. It wasn't easy.
To be honest, like, I just had grandma. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just had my grandma, and like, after I broke up with my ex, it's like 3.5 years now,
Mm-hmm.
and I haven't had a boyfriend since. Like, that really took a toll on my life. Also, like I said, I spent 3 months without leaving my house, and I'm dead serious. Like, I did not leave my house. My ex happened to be African American. My dad's side of the family is very racist, so that's also hard because I need help. The cops ended up having to start calling my dad and telling him because they knew that I wasn't. Because, at that point, what do? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that he doesn't care, but it's just like, because
it was a challenge for your dad. And
it's hard, because it's just like he's saying, like, you did this. But also it's like, what we've talked about now is, what, I did do that. I was off something.
Mm-hmm.
I made a mistake, but also I was stuck in that for 1.5 years. Like, being threatened, my family being threatened.
Yeah, we were.
Things that happened to me by the family. Just, like, it kept ruining my life. Like, there was no, like, getting out. Like, I couldn't, like, the cops knew, my family. They started finding out. I mean, it was just all bad, but it's been a lot of journey of kind of me just kind of having, I mean, I've always had my grandma, but like with all this figuring out stuff, like I've literally done it all on my own. And the whole jail thing, my grandma was bawling her eyes out. I didn't shed a tear. And that's like, I cried in jail, but going into jail in the holding cell, saying goodbye to my grandma, because I drove myself there, I turned myself in.
Mhm.
But she's sitting there bawling and she's asking me, like, what's wrong with you? And I'm looking at her like, I just got to do this. And I don't know why, but I knew that that situation was going to make me so much stronger. I knew that. And I told her that. And I mean, at the time, I even like, even to this day, I think about like, why didn't I cry? You know what I'm saying? Like, I cried because of things that were happening inside there, but like saying goodbye to, you know, like that's something that's really emotional to me. And I was so almost like ready because when I was pissed off because someone I depended on didn't come through and I'm having to go sit time. It was 90 days. I got out with 30. Also, I was more like, all right, like here's another experience, you know, like here's another test, here's another, you know, here's another freaking curveball I've been getting thrown at because I've been, you know, through life you're going to get them thrown at you all different directions and you're going to get tested and like I really, that's where I want to encourage, like, just don't give up, you know, just don't, because I came out of jail and, you know, things were different. And I had messages, conversations with both my parents that I never thought I was going to have. We both admitted things. You did. My dad did. And I did. All admitted things that, like, low key, like that's I feel like that's what I needed.
I think honesty comes
saying?
into play. I think when people can be 100% accountable.
Well, it's a more you can understand, you know, when my dad knew, when you knew, and you know when everyone. Also, we're all growing up. You know, like right now, like you have grown up so much. I have grown up so much. My dad has grown up so much. Like you just think of us from when I was little, and then you look at us now. Never, you know, even 2 years ago, what I thought I was ever sitting, you know what I'm saying? Like I thought I lost her forever. For a minute, I thought I lost everyone, you know, for a minute, I thought I was going to die. You know what I'm saying? So like,
I agree. I think as we wrap up, I'll say something for parents on my end as a parent. And then I want you to give any tips you can for parents struggling right now, listening, with going through a lot with their kids, whether it be addictions, maybe some sexual predators or sexual trafficking, whether it's kids getting bullied, how we handle it. You know, as a parent, the best advice I can give, knowing what I know now, is to make sure you listen, but also eliminate as many people as you can that are making decisions with your child. It should be you. If you're the mother, be the mother. If you're a father, but also do not allow petty things to get in the way of your children. Meaning, if you have a hard relationship with a spouse, an ex, whatever, do your very best to come together and communicate. And I think it comes down to communication. I did not, jobs. Communication was something I lacked for a long time. I was not a healthy communicator. I still have challenges with it in some areas of my life. In my personal life, it's like the one area I struggle with is communication in my personal life. In my public life, I work on it constantly in my business, but communicating, but also being accountable. I had to hold myself accountable for things. Just because I'm the parent doesn't mean I'm always right. And I had to get over that. And that was kind of that's how I was raised. And even though I knew that wasn't right, that's how I took it as a mother. And I wish I would have stepped in more. I wish I would have done things. But speaking with Taylor and listening to her. And one of the things is, as a parent, you do need to listen. They might be children, but they need to be heard. And I did not listen when I should have. And for that, you know, we've healed that. We've talked about that, but I encourage you to have healthy conversations and be willing to hear it, even if it's not lovely and beautiful. And also,
heck no, some of the best conversations, you're going to have to, you know, break through the ice. Like,
I think also though, if your gut is telling you something's wrong, I don't care what anyone says, listen to it.
For real.
I should have fought for some of the things I knew I was right. I knew I was right with what was going on with boys, I knew I was right with, she was getting, people were kind of seeking her out. And when I found out years later, like what the signs were, I felt like an idiot. I'm like, this was my daughter and it was happening right in front of me and I couldn't even identify it. So because I wasn't willing to listen at the right times and because I was scared. And so don't let that happen. And Taylor, what do you want to tell anyone who's going through drugs with their children, anyone who can see their children getting abused, bullied? What would you tell parents?
Kind of been waiting for this.
Mhm.
A big thing, me now, with everything I've gone through, I can say, no, I'm not at the hardest life. Not even close. I don't ever come, I don't ever look at anyone like, oh, whose life is harder. You know what I'm saying? But I have gone through some terrible things in my life, and I've had to go through things to figure it out that, a lot of kids don't. Also, my parents were divorced. I had a lot of independent, a lot of, teaching myself, figuring it out. And me looking back now, everything, the kids hate the parents for, like the treatment and like the stuff. I mean, the reason a lot of kids have the problems is because of, you sending them somewhere, doing something to help them. And at the time, you hate them, and it does take time for them to realize it. But one thing I have to say is just don't ever give up on your kids. Don't ever stop caring. Don't ever think being the cool parent. You can be a cool parent and also be a responsible parent, but I already struggled enough, and I, was rocky with my parents. If they wouldn't have been there, I probably wouldn't have been here. That's how serious it is. Don't ever give up on your child. Also, people do lie and kids do lie, but also like the most successful conversations I've had with my parents are when I've had to tell them some things that made me feel uncomfortable. I've also reached places in my life I had to go through really uncomfortable and hard things and admit things that, I'm sitting here sweating and I'm literally like, you gotta push, and you gotta want it, and you gotta strive for it, and you gotta go. And for kids and just like people growing up, like if your parents seem like they're nagging on you or they're doing things that you don't like just trust. I mean, it's only 18, 19, 20, you're with your parents, and then you have your whole life to do it all on your own and start your own life. And that's what I
enjoy being a kid.
I swear, I wish I could go back any day, but also I'm the strongest I've ever been, and I'm still growing every single day. But just don't give up on the ones you love, because people tend to push away the people they're closest to because they're always, oh, you're never going to go anywhere. Oh, you're always going to love me. Oh, you're also never going to know when your last day is with them. Mm-hmm. So just really just don't give up. Have communication, be open, be honest, even about the hard things. If you made a mistake, own up to it. If you're a kid, if you're a parent, everyone makes mistakes. And if you think you don't,
be accountable.
Yeah.
Make your pain your purpose. And so that was the theme of this episode and the series that we're doing is make your pain your purpose, because there is a lot of pain from addiction to unhealthy relationship, toxic relationships, abuse. I think Taylor's gone through several areas of this, but she's turning her pain into her purpose, and being sober is important to her, and building healthy relationships now. And she's 20, she's got a lot of time, but I know how hard that is, being a recovering, I'm alcohol free. I've been working on being sober for almost 8 months, and it's been a blessing. It's changed my world. Sobriety brought my daughter back to me. And it's important for me to show her and my children and the people around me that it can happen and that you don't need it. And
For real,
that-
you don't need it, even though, like, I know, like, I know how it is.
We
like,
know, we get
but,
it. 21-year-old for 5 years. But she can be a kid. The
but
thing
I'm
is,
just saying, you truly don't need it. Because,
You
I
don't.
mean, I haven't
it destroys lives.
I haven't gone out since 2020. I mean, what? It's
Well-
been a month and a half. But I'm just saying, like, you don't need it. Like, you know, like, it's cold turkey. Like, it's no, you know, you don't want to get to where you have a problem or where you can't stop. You know, like, you don't want to be able to, like, oh, I can't. You know what I'm saying? When I stopped going out, I was, you know, I felt like, oh, no more fake people. I'm saving money. I'm feeling better about myself. I truly just like to dance and like go crazy. So,
I like dancing too.
but I just, you know, it gets into very negative things. And even though it makes you feel better at the time, it's just numbing it and it's not fixing it.
Mhm.
And I mean, like, you know,
Mhm.
it's hard and it's just like life is hard, but you just got to keep
going.
swinging. I don't stop. Keep going.
Well, that brings us to the end of our show. And I want to thank everybody for listening to Taylor's story. Make your pain your purpose.